All right. Thank you everyone for those virtual thumbs up to let me know that we're good to go. I have closed captioning happening right now through Google Slides down at the bottom of my screen. This is my favorite way to do live closed captioning. You can actually see it kind of going on here in the background. And I've got this layered on top for the demo for today. If that's something that is not your favorite, I love it, but if it's not your favorite or it's distracting for you, feel free to come out of your full screen mode and just scoot your screen down a little bit. And that'll be the best way to just cut that off of the bottom and you won't see it as we go through. But today we are going to talk about SEL projects featuring a book creator. And if you've joined me the past couple Wednesdays this spring, this summer, and now this fall, I've been hosting webinars for the wonderful folks at Book Creator to talk about different topics. And I'm just so excited that you carved out some time here today. If you're joining live or if you're watching the recording, that you've carved out some time on your schedule to sit back and watch today. So welcome everyone. Please know that you have two great places to pose any questions that you have. So you can jump into the chat area if you're watching live here with GoToWebinar and put in any questions for the chat there. You can do the drop down for all panelists or all attendees, especially if you have some other resources you think folks in the group might appreciate seeing as well. As you heard, those of you who joined us right at the top of the hour, John from Book Creator is here and he will answer some questions as I go through. So if you have a question, don't feel like you're interrupting or anything, place it in the chat area, put it in the Q&A widget, whatever feels better, and we'll make sure to get you answers to all the things so that you'll be ready to go with your group. And if we haven't met before, my name is Monica Burns. I'm an ed tech and curriculum consultant. I'm a former New York City public school teacher, and I'm a book creator ambassador, and really excited to spend some time with you to talk about this topic of creating within Book Creator, especially SEL projects or ones that connect to our social emotional learning. If you follow along with me on Instagram or Twitter, you can find me here. I'll put that here in the chat area too. I know that I love to share lots and lots of favorites, and the folks at Book Creator are just so wonderful and active on social media too. So they are great ones to follow along with. Now, a few things just to let you know, especially during this time of remote learning. If you have any remote learning specific questions, feel free to jump into the chat there as well. There's webinars. We're going to look at a workflow specific to it today. So that's something to think of too. But I'd love to hear from you before we jump into our quick overview of Book Creator, make some remote and classroom learning connections and talk about SEL. How familiar are you with Book Creator? You can tell just me in the chat by doing the all panelists. You can tell everyone by doing the all panelists and attendees drop down, and let us know, how familiar are you with Book Creator? Have you used it a whole bunch, just a little bit? Maybe you've heard of it before and haven't tried it out yet. Let me know in the chat area. Awesome. So we've got some folks who've used it before, who've made a handful of books for students, who are totally new to it, right? All of that counts, and you're definitely in the right place today. We are going to talk about SEL projects, of course, as our focus, but we'll start off with a quick overview of Book Creator, give you a sense of what you can do right from within this tool. And that way we'll have a little bit of context to jump back in when we talk a bit more about the SEL project. And just know that you have lots and lots of resources available for you too if you are brand new to Book Creator. So if there's ever a moment where I'm moving a little fast and you're thinking to yourself, Monica, which button was that? Or how do I get started with this thing? Don't worry, because there are lots of getting started resources with Book Creator that can help you jump into this wonderful open-ended creation tool. So if you haven't used Book Creator before, or you're ready for just a quick overview, Book Creator is an open-ended creation tool for iOS, meaning it's iPad friendly, and the web, including Chromebooks. I'm going to be out on my Chrome web browser today showing you off a bunch of things here on my MacBook, so it is super duper compatible to different resources. Now, for Book Creator, students and teachers can create and publish books. So I'm hoping that as we go along together today, you might feel compelled to open up another web browser and create a book here in Book Creator alongside me. Now, Book Creator is super simple for making interactive pages. You can add voice, text, video, images, and lots more, and you'll see us explore some of this together today. It's something that you can really use with students of all ages, and I've sat with elementary school students in classrooms side by side as they've made and created ebooks with Book Creator, and I've sat with adult learners, right, as they have worked and created in this space, and it's something that I've been doing virtually with educators as well, with professional development that I've been hosting for schools. So something that is really customizable for your group. Now today, you're going to see me working behind the scenes a bit as I create a library, as I talk about what it looks like to make books here in Book Creator. So you'll see me talk a little bit about how teachers can create libraries for students. And of course, there is just so much that you can do with this fantastic tool. And although our focus is SEL today, there are lots of great ways to use Book Creator. And I will point you to a bunch of extra resources. And I saw that John already put some there in the chat for you as well. So there's lots that you can go out and explore, whether you want to make digital portfolios or poetry books or step-by-step guides, science reports, learning journals, comics, you name it. There is just so much that you can do with this very powerful tool. Now, before we jump into our SEL piece, because so many of us are in a remote or distance learning environment right now, or are understanding that they're in a hybrid model and they might switch to a different model as the year progresses, you'll see me today go through some steps and some strategies that you can use in remote learning environments or outside of a traditional classroom. That includes setting up a teacher account, sharing login protocols with families, and checking in on student books, which you'll hear me mention today. Now, of course, when it comes to understanding student access and prioritizing things, you might position this resource as a place where kids go into regularly to share, or it might be something that kids are having as a choice for a culminating product or a project that they're working on. So you might share ideas, or you might share expectations, and you might even share some supporting resources with families as well when you are talking to them about helping their child navigate these online spaces. So if you want to play along with me today and create some books within Book Creator, you'll want to head to app.bookcreator.com. You'll see a page that kind of looks like this one, right? Just a little bit bigger on your screen. And you'll want to go from the student sign in to the teacher sign in. Now, I usually sign in as my Google single sign on for tools, and I do that here for Book Creator, of course. And once you're in, you'll see a teacher dashboard that kind of looks like mine. This is where you would create a library, get that invite code, and let people come in. So just some context as we jump into our SEL component today. As we go through some project ideas, I'm going to take you out for a live demo. I'm going to answer any questions that you have along the way. So please don't feel like you have to be quiet in the chat area. You can share any ideas, links, resources, questions that you have, and either John or I will answer as we're going along together today. So this idea of SEL, or social emotional learning, is our focus for our project ideas today. There's lots of ways to use Book Creator, but this is going to be the one that we're focused in on for this session. Now, the definition or the explanation that you see here for SEL on my screen comes from the collaborative for academic, social, and emotional learning. If you've heard of CASEL before, that's a fantastic resource to learn more about SEL. Now, I'm going to read this definition aloud for you just to help us have a foundation for our conversation on what SEL really means today. So, social and emotional learning, SEL, is the process through which children and adults acquire and effectively apply the knowledge, attitudes, and skills necessary to understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. So, we're going to talk about book creator projects in the big context of SEL today, having kids talk about feelings, goal setting, showing empathy, building and maintaining relationships, making good decisions. All of that will fall into our conversation today. And don't worry, we are recording this, and you'll have access to this recording when it is, finalized. So you'll be able to go back, take a look at any of these definitions, or look at any of these resources a little bit more deeply. Now, 3 places I love to go to for SEL resources are Edutopia, EdSurge, and ASCD. So Edutopia has a fantastic website full of resources. I've done some blogging for them and love that spot. EdSurge is another that has really great education technology resources and often features SEL topics. And ASCD, I'm an ASCD author and faculty member, and love it, right? Love everything that they do. And they have lots of SEL resources for their print resources and online resources as well. So as we get ready to talk about book creator and SEL side by side with some project ideas, and then we go out and create some things, I'm curious, what activities have you tried with students related to SEL? It doesn't have to be a techie activity or have anything to do with book creator, but go ahead and share in the chat, and you can do the all panelists and attendees drop down if you want other folks to see your pieces that you want to share there as well. So go ahead into the chat and share, what activities have you tried with students related to SEL? So some of you have used Kahoot activities, bringing students together that way. Using some of Common Sense Media's resources, wonderful. I'm doing some theater work, some discovery work. Yeah, so lots and lots of things that you can do here. You might have used some resources from Pear Deck to help with that as well. Brain breaks that get kids processing and thinking about different things. Love it. So yeah, there are so many ways to incorporate SEL, and we're going to break this down into a few different categories together, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what this looks like as well. So first up, for our first activity, is going to be an interview with community members. An interview with community members helps give a sense of belonging, help students understand and build empathy for other members of their community that are nearby. Now with Book Creator, you can add in lots of different types of media. So you might include a photograph of the person they interview, of course, if they have permission to do that. You might have a map of a special place that they talk about. So if they reference a certain part or place within your community, you might have students use the embed map feature inside of Book Creator and add that in as well. So they can search for the spot, and then they can go ahead and plug that right in there. You might also have students add an audio recording of part of their interview. So with Book Creator, you can actually add narration to any page. So you can do that automatically. Or, right, so you might have Book Creator open when students are doing an interview, or you might decide that you are going to have kids record. I'm pointing over here because I've got my phone next to me here, right? So they might record on another device, and then they might take that MP3 file and add it in as a file, just like you see here. So lots of options. Because the Book Creator now has a transcript feature built in, you could add in a full transcript of the conversation. So if you record it in Book Creator, you can generate a transcript. It does a fantastic job of it. And so you could add that in too. So our first activity on our list is interviewing community members. Now, if you are looking for something that is more kind of class and collaborative, you might have students create a collaborative book together. So students can create a template. So each page has a similar theme. So you might have them work off of a specific template, and that way that things look very thematic across the book. Students can choose one font color or one font or one color scheme for their whole book. This way, the collaborative book will have a nice thread that goes through it where everything looks really nice page by page. And you might even have students add their name to the bottom of the pages they worked on. So students could create an About the Authors page where they all put a little bit of something about themselves there too. So for a collaborative book, you're really helping students understand what it's like to be part of a group. You're asking them to work together for a common mission. They'll have to listen to each other, evaluate the opinions of others, pull a whole bunch of different things together for a collaborative project. Now, you could use the collaborative feature built into Book Creator, which is pretty powerful, pretty awesome. I was using it with a group of New York City teachers last week as we were modeling some things that they could do with their students. Or you might even have kids make one page for a collaborative book, and that way they can pull it all together there as well. Now, another great project that you might do to help kids learn about new places, build empathy, understand what life is like in different parts of the world, or let other people know a little bit about themselves is a What's in a Name project. Now, this project has kids take their own name and create a book where they talk a little bit about where their name came from, what inspired their name, what their name means, especially if they are sharing what it means in different languages. And they can help inspire that into a book where they share lots of favorite things. So this is something that allows students to introduce themselves. And you might use this as a project for your whole class where each student makes a book all about themselves and shares it with each other. Now, of course, you could take a more worldwide spin. And if you have a partner class in another part of the world, your students can make their What's in a Name books. Maybe they make one big book for the whole class and they have a page that goes along with each student. And then you can trade or switch books with that other class. So a What's in a Name book might include a picture of a student's favorite place to visit, a voice recording sharing a special story, links to a favorite website. It could even include background colors and fonts that they love. So it might be something where you're giving them a lot of creative license or agency to do that as well. So that's another favorite project. You might also decide that you want students to do a global exchange guide. This kind of comes back to that idea of making a book and trading it with another class. Although here you would start that off from the beginning. So in this case, you might decide that you want students to have a class that they are connected with in a different part of the world. So this might be something where they share some of the steps on what makes a global exchange really successful. So if you've had students connect with another class, maybe doing a What's Your Name project or What's in a Name project, here they can take that a next step further and they can reflect and say, okay, what kind of guide could we create for others so that they can interact with other people in different parts of the world? So their global exchange guide might include something like how to find a partner class, tips for setting up a video conference, information on protocols or ways to prepare for a conversation. So this would be more of a how-to guide that you could have students create. Next up on our list of activity ideas is writing about virtual reality experiences. So you might have students put in a map of the place that they are going to visit, and I have the air quotes and the quotes here on the screen because they would choose a place that they want to visit. Could be in a different part of the world, and it would be a virtual type of visit, at least for this one. Kids can add pictures of the place that they want to visit or that they want to learn more about, and they can even add links to learn more about life in a certain place. Maybe it's a text response to a discussion prompt that you've given them as well. Next up is setting up a thoughtfulness goals for students. So this might be something like a checklist of things they can do to be more thoughtful or kind, a summary of a time when they were kind to a friend, so they might put in more of a reflection. It might also include an audio recording with an update on their progress, especially if they're working towards some specific thoughtfulness goals. Or it might even include a plan for checking in with a partner. Like this is is something I want to do this week to make sure I'm being a good friend. Now, you might also decide that you want students to have a collaborative book that allows them to connect with pen pals in a different part of the world. Remember, this idea of SEL in the context that we're looking at today also includes some of that empathy building and learning about life in other places. So you might have a book like this and you set up a, um, a collection or a library, and then you ask students to all jump into that same book, even if they're in classes in different part of the world. So they can make side-by-side pages like you see here, hello from their two different parts. And at the same time, or at different times, if they're in very different time zones, they can jump in and have this as a vehicle for their pen pals. It would be a little different. Sorry, it would be a little different than having some of the emails or back and forth that might take place that way. In this case, you might have audio or text responses to a prompt, or even have students take pictures that show off a special moment from the school day. So all of that would be ways that you might have students do a back and forth or something like that, where they can share pictures from a special moment of the school day that way. So I want to hear a little bit from you before we jump in at look at another activity and go out and make something together. So I'd love to hear from you. What activity ideas grab your attention? How would you tailor them to your group of students? What would that look like? So go ahead and share, if any of these grabbed your attention, and how you might tailor some of them to your group of students. So thanks. I see a message came in. Remember, you can do the all panelists and attendees and use that drop down menu if you want to add add something that everyone can see. You're welcome to add that there. So glad that you're loving the pen pal ideas. Feel free to share any ways that you might tailor these to your group as well. I'm glad that you love the idea of collaborative projects someone shared here. Modifying some of these to include community service goals or doing a brag book. I love that. So that kids can brag about some things that they've done or accomplished. Having a class book where they look at ways that they are similar or have things in common with their classmates. Having them write a story and then combine all the books into one together. So much great things coming in here, especially to make sure that you're building that community, and keep these ideas coming. And if you want some of the other folks on the line to see what it is that is really getting your wheels spinning, feel free to share that in the chat area as well. Now, what we're going to do together goes into this category of a finding feelings pictures. So this might be a time where you want students to share their feelings or make a feelings journal. And so you might have students do something that goes along with a description of a feeling, pictures that represent a feeling, tips for when you feel sad or angry or another emotion, or you might even include a recording of a story from their own life that they feel comfortable sharing. You might add in emojis, like the emojis that you see here on the page. That might be something that you want to take a look at. We're going to look at a whole bunch of things that you can do together. And this is something that where you might want to go in and you might want to create and play around a little bit with me today. So I'm going to start creating a book, and I want you to kind of watch me as I go through these steps. But I also know that you might be in a situation right now where you want to open up another web browser and you might want to try out or create something in Book Creator alongside me. That way you can press some buttons, ask some questions, and let me know what you are making as well. Now let's go ahead and jump in together. So as I mentioned before, to sign in to bookcreator.com, I'm going to go ahead and put the clickable link there for you. You'll go to app.bookcreator.com. Now you can click that blue link and you'll be able to open this up in another page. Now, It'll default for you for student sign in, but you're going to want to click the button that says teacher sign in and just jump over to that tab instead. So that would be where you want to switch from student over to teacher. Now, if it's the first time that you're using Book Creator, you might be asked to put in some info or to set up your account. Otherwise, you can do what I'm going to do, which is to go ahead and jump in and make a new book. So I'm going to go to my new book. I'm going to choose, usually landscape is what I choose because it fills up my whole screen, which makes it great for demos on a day like today. And then I'll go to my plus sign to start adding things to my page. So let's go ahead and try it out together. I'm already logged in to Book Creator. I'm in my teacher dashboard. I can go to my libraries. You can see I've got a lot of libraries here, and I'm just going to go ahead and jump into my practice library here. Now I'm going to hit the new book button, and this is going to allow me to choose my book. Now, comics are wonderful. Even though I'm not talking about comics too much today, you might want to try a comic style project with your students. We're going to go ahead and choose landscape though, and this is going to open it up so that you can see the full page view. Now I've got my plus sign, and this is where I can start adding things to my page, whether it's a picture, a camera, like I want to snap a picture of something, or a pen, right? I've got a whole bunch of options there as well. So if you haven't already, I'd love for you to open up Book Creator and create that first page just like I did. So I'm going to give you a second. Go ahead and click on that blue link. And if you want to go ahead and set up your page of your book, we're going to start adding some things with that plus sign in just a moment. So if you don't have it open yet already, you'll want to open it up just like mine. Let's see here. There you go. Here's mine. And then I'll go to my plus sign where I can start adding in some different things. So if you haven't already, of course, you can open up Book Creator and create your page. I've got my plus sign right there, and I'm going to start adding some text. And then I'm going to customize the text, changing the colors and the font. So go ahead now if you want to play along with me. I'm going to go through these steps live for you. So I'm going to go to my plus sign. I'm going to hit text. And for this one, I'm going to create a My Feelings journal and hit done. Once it's out here on my page, if I click it and it's got the blue box around it, I can go to the inspector button, and that's where I can choose how I want this to look. So maybe I want it to be in the center, maybe I want it to be a specific font, and I want to place it right here. Maybe I want to go again to my inspector and change this so it's purple, or maybe I want a background color like orange behind it, and then I could put that right here on my page. Now, if I want to, I can add in a couple extra things here, but right now I've got my plus sign, my text, and then once it was clicked in blue with the box around it, I would go to my inspector button. So if you haven't already and you want to go ahead and add a title to your page, feel free to go ahead and try that out, adding some text to your page, and let me know if you have any questions as you are trying it out before we go on to our next step together. All right, so if you want to add text to your page, if you haven't already, go for it. The next thing I'm going to do, now that I've got some text on my page, is change the background color of my page. So I'm going to make sure nothing is clicked in blue. And then I'm going to change and choose a background pattern. So let's go ahead and change up the background together. Let's go take a live look. So I'm going to click out of here and I'm going to click the background, and then I'm going to go to my inspector button, and I'm going to go ahead and choose a background. Now I could choose one of these that have more of a border if I wanted to. So remember, I click the background and then inspector. I might choose one that's more like paper, or I might choose one that is more pattern. So I've got lots of options here for this that I can pick and choose from. Maybe we'll go with this pink one here, and we'll add that to the back. So remember, to add a background, you just click the back, hit inspector, and that will allow you to change the background. So if you haven't already, go ahead and customize your background as we get ready to move on to the next step. All right, so next up, we'll head back over to the plus sign, and I'm gonna choose the import button, which is gonna allow me to search for some pictures for my journal. Once I've got that, I can go to the Google image search, or I can upload my own picture, and then I can add a picture to the page. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So for the feelings journal, I'm gonna go to the plus sign, import, and I could go ahead and search for something. Maybe I want something related to my feelings, or I want something that's more broad for my cover. I'm going to go ahead and choose flowers here, and I've got some great options. But because my background is pink, I might want to choose something that's pink. So I can choose the pink button here. When I click on it, it'll tell me where it came from. So this is from Pixabay. So I know Pixabay is a source for Creative Commons licensed images that I can use. And so I'm going to go ahead and add that here. Now, what I might do is I might go to my inspector and I might layer this. So I might move this back so that it goes behind, or I might drag this down a little bit and place it right here, or I could even use my little green button there to spin it if I want it to be a little bit more funky and on an angle like that. So here I've got my image that I've added to the background of my feelings journal. So if you haven't already, go ahead and add a picture to your cover before we move inside and start looking at ways to add emojis and narration to your feelings journal. All right, so if you haven't added your picture yet, feel free. You can do the search for me if you want to, just like I did. I'll show you those steps again. So you go to the plus sign, import, and then you've got your opportunity to search for an image or upload an image. So I'm going to go to search, and then I can type in like my flowers here, and I can choose maybe I want orange results or yellow results or green results, and I can choose here and click on it before selecting it and adding it to my page. So once I've got this in here, the next piece that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go back to and make a new page. So I'm going to write an entry on a page saying how I felt that particular day. So it might be something like using a sentence around how you're feeling that day. Once you have that, you can head over to the pen tool and you can add on. So we're gonna go to the pen tool, and then we'll find our emojis and add an emoji to go along with our feelings. So because I was feeling excited, I might use this emoji with the star in the background and add that to my page. So let's go through those steps live together. A feelings journal, if you're making one with students, having emojis as part of it is great too. Yeah, it's a wonderful way to get kids feeling comfortable representing their feelings. Now, let's go again. I'm going to go to the inspector. Maybe this time I'll choose the purple background there. I'm going to go to my plus sign and my text. And instead of typing in the date and how I feel today, I'm actually going to use the voice to text. So let's try this out together. Today is September 9th, and I am feeling excited. So pretty good, right? It uses the same technology that you see down here with my closed captioning. So that's why it got turned off for that one. But let's go ahead. Today is September 9th, and I'm feeling excited. Looks pretty good. So we'll hit done. Now remember, I can go to my inspector button. I can change the background. I can change the size if I wanted to. So I can make it a little bit bigger. I could change the font if I wanted to, right? So I could go ahead and choose different fonts if I wanted to. Let's go ahead and put this like this here on the page. And now I'm going to add my emoji. So I'm going to my plus sign, my pen tool. I'm going to go here to the emoji button, and I'm going to choose this excited emoji and place it right there. We'll go ahead and hit done. And now I'm add my text and my emoji to the page. So if you haven't already, go ahead and add an emoji. Remember, you're going to use the pen tool to find and add an emoji. So take a minute here to add an emoji to the page before we move on to our next step with recording. All right, so if you don't have your emoji yet, feel free to keep working on adding it. Our next step is going to be to add a recording to the page. So you saw me use my voice to text to add my line on the page. This time we're actually going to make an audio recording. So I'm going to go to my plus sign and record, and I'll be able to talk, 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 and it will create a recording for me. Once I have the recording, it'll add a little button on the page, and I'm going to show you today how you can actually do an automatic transcript for it too. So let's go ahead and try that out together. We'll jump back over here. I'm going to go to my plus sign. I'm going to go to my record, and let's record. One of the reasons I'm feeling very excited today is because I was able to sit with a friend at lunch and catch up with them. So I've got my recording. I'm going to say use recording. I usually like to make these buttons a little bit bigger and place them like that on the page. Now, if I go to the inspector button, remember I got to tap it so that it's blue. Go to the inspector button. Here I can add a transcript. I'm speaking English here in the US. I'm going to generate it automatically, and it will now allow me to see a transcript. Sometimes it takes a moment or two, but it'll pop up right there for me. I'll see the full transcript or the text that goes along with it as well. Now, a few other things while we're in here, and you're welcome to add a recording as I'm talking. You can go ahead and use the camera tool if you wanted to. I'm going to say allow. This might make my Zoom camera look a little funky, but here we are in both spots. Now, I could go ahead and take a picture if I wanted to. So I might have a selfie. I might have drawn something on my iPad and held it up here for you, right? So I could do a whole bunch of things here using this camera option. Instead, I'm going to go to record a video. Now, this would be another way for me to share. So I could say something like, I'm so excited about the book that I just read. Here's the book that I read. You could hold it up and point to it, and you can talk to it. So students could give a video response. One very special thing, so I'm going to go to use video here, is that once this video is here on my page, I can go to the inspector button and I can go ahead and add captions. So it usually takes just a second because the video, depending on how long it processes, once I go to inspector, it'll tell me if I can generate the captions, but you can see over here that it already did the transcript for my little recording there. So I've got that there as well, and I could always edit it. It's pretty good, even with my Long Island accent and my funny vowels, catching everything pretty well. But if I go here, let's see, yep, there's add captions. So this will generate the captions for me, or it would allow me to enter them manually, but the technology is so great that it does this for me. I'm going to go back, and it's going to work on the captions at the same time. So when we're creating projects with an SEL mindset, we always want to be mindful of making sure everyone can access and read what we are making. This is true, of course, of all projects that we might do as students, but especially when we're talking about things like building empathy and understanding and community. So you might want to add some of these additional features like a transcript or captions. If you go to the text, you can actually go to the inspector button here and change the text to something like Open Dyslexic, which tends to be friendlier for students with dyslexia because it weights down the text. So all things to think about. Now, before we finish up for today, and you're welcome to try recording your voice, and you're also welcome to share which of the features really jump out at you. So feel free to jump in the chat right now if you want to share that you would use the voice and the transcript, you would use the video, you would use emojis. So feel free to jump in the chat there. But before we finish up, and yep, they're all available in the free model there, Opal. But before we finish up, I want to show you how to share any books that your kids make. So feel free in the chat to tell me some of the features that jump out to you, share any activity ideas that you have. And as you do that, I'm going to show you how to share your books. So I can come back out here to my feelings journal. Now, your students might be super comfortable sharing this for the whole world to see. You want to give them a heads up ahead of time, though, if that's going to be your goal, so that they're sharing things that they're comfortable sharing with the whole world. So you would go to the share button down here. They could publish it online if you wanted them to. They could go to the share button here and you could download it as an ebook or print it. So this would be an EPUB file or a PDF to stay offline. Or if you have the full version of Book Creator, you could turn on, a teacher could do this, turn on collaboration, and you can say that just 2 kids can work together or everyone can work together. So that's an option for you to have as well. Now, if you wanted to, you could combine books. So if you created a library and you had a bunch of kids' books in there, you could take a page from each of their book and make a big class book. So just so many things that you could consider here. So I'm back here at my teacher dashboard. I hit my little three, my little hamburger icon there. And I'm going to go to the discover area because I want to share with you a couple of things that are in here that might be useful in our context of our conversation today. So there are lots of resources in here, everything from using emojis in the classroom. So if that's something that you might be interested in, if that grabbed your attention today, you can learn more about that, all the way to different examples by grade levels. And then there are plenty of books that Book Creator has. I've helped them create a couple, including this one, all about SEL projects. So this goes into a little bit more that we talked about today. So if you're excited about this idea, especially if you want to share with colleagues, you might share this book with them. I've just put the link in the chat area for you. It goes into some of the conversations. There's me in the same, almost the same spot as today. And then you can see some more ideas and things that we talked about based on our conversation is all right here in this book. And I just put the link there into the Zoom chat area. So lots and lots of great resources here as we come back out here together. Thank you for those of you jumping into the chat and sharing all the things that jumped out at you, like the transcripts, like using the captions feature. I'm glad to see that those are ones that jumped out for you as well. So great things coming in there in the chat. But before we wrap up today, we've got a couple more minutes. So I want to make sure we address any questions that you have. So feel free to have any other questions come in. Remember, you can set up and share a library just like you saw me today, creating the library, finding that invite code and inviting other students in. There's a wonderful newsletter that the folks at Book Creator send out each month. And of course, if you are not in the Book Creator Teachers Facebook group, I highly recommend, I know I'm in it, and it's a great place to gather ideas and connect with other educators as well. And like I mentioned, there are lots of different activities, ideas, and free ebooks from Book Creator, including the SEL book that I mentioned as well. So feel free to keep any questions that you have coming in. I'm so glad as I see some things coming through the chat that, yep, you can use Book Creator synchronously and asynchronously. So lots of different ways to use it. And John, were there any questions that I missed either in the Q&A or the chat there that you want to make sure I address?
No, not really. There were a few questions about pricing and what's the difference between the paid version and free version. And essentially, there really isn't any difference between the paid and free version, other than the number of books, libraries, and the big one really for teachers that makes the most sense is collaboration. So if you don't have a paid version, then the collaboration piece is not available. Other than that, there were a couple of issues where the import option wasn't actually appearing. So people were not able to import an image. And I've actually heard that a couple times today. So I've reached out to our support line for that. Our engineering team, there might be a slight issue there. I'm not sure. But if you are still having an issue, you can certainly reach out to support@bookcreator.com. And one of our support people will be happy. We only have one support person. We'll be happy to help you with that. So again, support@bookcreator.com.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that for sharing that piece, John. Yep, I saw a question come in. Megan asked about the background, what I've got going on here with my my captions. So it's actually kind of a fake Google Slides presentation happening. So what I do is I make another Google Slides presentation, and Google Slides has closed captioning that you can turn on. And so even though my slide deck is here in Keynote, I just layer it in the background by making sure that my web browsers and everything line up that way. And I made a TikTok video, Megan, where I talk about this. I know that's, I've been trying to do some TikTok tips and share there too. So if you send me a message, Megan, I'll let you know what the link is to that. I'm afraid if I go looking for it, let me see if I can find it right here on my phone. It might get loud for a second with all the volume, but let me see if I can find, because this video will take you through the steps to it. And that way you'll have it there too. So let me see. I don't know where it is on this long list of things, but let me see. If you reach out to me, I'll make sure to send it to you because I don't see it here easily in my little piece here. But that's basically it. It's just using Google Slides in the background. Yeah, Sonia, you can have a co-teacher use a collaboration. So when you're inside your book creator library, we'll go into the library that I was just in, my practice one here. I can go up here. They have to have already joined. So you'd give them the invite code first. And then once they're in here, you can upgrade them. And that will be the way to get them in. So that would be your way of just letting them jump in and be part of your library there as well. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining today. I really appreciate you being here to talk a little bit about all of these pieces. When it comes to book creator and SEL projects, there is just so much that you can do. It's really a very, very dynamic tool. There's lots of things you can do, and I'm just so excited that you all joined me today. And I think it was, let me see, Megan here. Here's that little TikTok video that takes you through the steps for doing the closed captioning. I should probably put a blog post together for it, but just like all the wonderful closed captioning inside of a book creator, right? It's something that's important to consider all the time as well. So I'll turn it back over to you, John. Thanks so much.
All right, great. Yeah, Monica, if you could just make me a host again, then we'll go ahead and turn off the YouTube live. But anyway, thanks everybody for being here. We do appreciate it. Monica, thanks you. I forget it. Thank you again for doing these webinars for us. We really appreciate it. And awesome. So this video will probably be on our YouTube channel the next day or two. But we just want to thank you again for being here. So thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you all so much.